Hey YouTubers, um, I just thought I would address the situation. I'm on like brain overload right now. Uh, I just I've been doing so much, like research on the topics that I want to cover, and it brought me back to like the LA riot, and they happened in '92, and they started after the verdict of the policeman. Now, I did go by a second by second, playback of the whole Rodney King incident. Who, by the way, and I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Now, the other day, he did end up dying by accidental drowning, which they said came on by, his toxology, report from the, you know, coroner. But I did try, let me just tell you that there is quite a few things that, because of, I feel like back in the days when they used microfiche, that, you really could get what you wanted and all of what you wanted, you know? Uh, but I also went through, yeah, okay, so 15 minutes after the verdict of the acquittal. Now, let me just say, the second by second playback, Rodney King had led, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm not on any side. I'm just giving what I have spent the last couple of hours reviewing and studying and just saying that this is what was appeared, you know, to be happening. He led these police on a high speed chase. Okay. So and he was drunk driving, and he did have drugs and things like that. Hi, Mr. Rourke. So he led these police on a high speed chase. Now, at the end of the day, everybody just wants to go home from their job, right? And pretty certain, that probably Rodney King did put lives in danger because of that high speed chase. So we've got him putting lives in danger. So there we've got him having a lack of regard for the fact that people really aren't supposed to drive drunk. If they get caught and they're getting pulled over, leading them on a high speed chase when you're drunk and high is even more dangerous to yourself, or to, so he didn't even really have a regard for his own life, correct? If somebody doesn't have a regard for their own life, how can you expect them to have a regard for any, human life? Gotcha. Feel you there, right? So now imagine if they'd have just called off that high speed chase, which now I know that there's a protocol going on there that either, they're, um, the person who is above them is either supposed to call off a high speed chase or it continues. It's based on whatever's occurring at the time. Who knows when they make that call? But imagine if they made that call. Now, I'm going to tell you, I read a story one time where a young girl, probably, like about 15, had been kidnapped. And the officers called off a high speed chase on somebody that was getting pulled over for different reasons. It wasn't about that they suspected the abduction, but it was because, hey, Dallas County, how you doing? Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I hope all is well with you. But the fact of the matter was, they called off this high speed chase, and as it turns out, that young girl was in the trunk of that car. So, you know, um, it's a catch 22. It's really a catch 22. But here they've got somebody who's drunk driving, they pull over or want to, who knows if he even pulled over, and, like they don't, that's what I'm saying about being able to find complete details about certain stories. And then you become like overloaded on information, things you don't even really want to know because they're just so, you know. So he wasn't handcuffed in the video that was taken. Rodney King was not handcuffed. I hear you there, Dallas County, taking a break. Were you being trolled or something? Or did you just get sick of it? Or was it taking over your life? Uh, Qualified immunity is a legal principle that grants government officials performing discretionary functions immunity from civil suits unless the plaintiff shows that the official violated U.S. laws. I get it. You're right. But it's a legal doctrine that covers, it's been used in so many cases. I mean, even the fact that they're not trained correctly, they use that. Clearly established statutory and constitutional rights, which a reasonable person would have known. No, it's clearly and established violations of it. And the only way hi Rachel, I just had people saying they're going to keep turning my videos in for no reason. Well, that's pretty crazy. I mean, it's, I haven't been over there lately, and I'm really sorry about that, Dallas. I'm really sorry. I apologize. But is there a particular reason? Have you changed your content or something recently? It's clearly an established violation of their constitutional rights. So without precedent being set, like a previous case, then they don't have a precedent for it. And that's why all police officers have to be bonded. Once you pull a cop found for illicit behavior proven in court, he cannot then be bonded again. And you're, Rachel, you need to go back and reread because you missed the fact. Goes into the crop of business of bankerships and interest paid by our government through our tax money. Yeah, okay, goes into the crop business of bankership and interest paid by our government through our tax money. Okay, it doesn't mention bonds at all in the qualified immunity doctrine, and it doesn't say that something is clearly outlined. Our rights are clearly outlined in the Constitution. It says a clearly outlined violation. Okay, now when your Constitution varies from state to state, and if you have no precedent set, and it goes back into comparison of the Captain James DeWolf and the Polly and the slave ship. And the other night when you said, oh, but for the good of mankind, at least, like many lives can be lost, or one life can be lost to save the lives of many kind of, you know, thought process. That is because the precedent was set because of Captain James DeWolf and the Polly. And so when there's a precedent set, that is where it's a clearly defined violation of it. If you don't have the precedent, then you don't have it. Now, where these people about George Floyd are talking, saying George Floyd is making such a mark, and there's a lot of things that are, I'm going to address. And yes, I will have people up on the panel if people want to be. But I want to get out what I want to get out first without, like that, for instance. It does not mention anything about being bonded in the qualified immunity doctrine. And it says that clearly violates. Okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. Now, no two separate SOP of police department. Standard of procedure, that's not the point. It's the point of precedent. With the Justine Diamond case in Minneapolis, there was a precedent set. Okay? Now, yes, he did get put in prison. Rachel, you are not the only one in the chat. Lemon is here. Dallas County Scratchers is here. Mr. Rourke is here. And that's 5. I mean, no, I'm just saying that the thing is that, in all of this, they're not even mentioning about the black cop shooting the white woman, where a precedent was set during the time that we're all going to be worrying about the result, the verdict of a trial that's going on. In the meantime, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, they overturned a rape conviction because they said that if a woman is, has a few drinks and gets herself drunk, highly that it's her own fault if she gets raped. Okay? And that was a week ago. That's going to set a precedent. Okay? That is disgraceful that this guy got, I can't even imagine that that's going to slip through the cracks because of the timing. Now, in 92, when the verdict came out about the 4 police officers being acquitted in the Rodney King beating, where second by second review of what occurred all have you blocked? I don't think they all have you blocked, Rachel. That is not true. That can't be. I don't think they would do that. They can't. I want to know if you went back and reread the qualified immunity doctrine, though. Because what you wrote was it was a clearly established violation that is there, not a clearly established constitutional right. The Constitution clearly establishes, hey Clemson, Miss Brooks, hi everyone, and I want you to, go back and reread it because you came in like a whirlwind, Rachel, and I don't mind that. I let everybody, freedom to voice what they're saying. But now I need to know that you're gonna go back and just double check if you were incorrect. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I don't know. It might be the thing to do because if you want to know a little about everything, you want to know, you know, the actual. Maybe you've got everybody blocked then, because I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to see anybody. Doesn't make sense. Because I can see everybody, but I can't see like anyhow. So Tracy, I just copied that from the qualified immunity doctrine, and I explained how police officers are bonded and how those bonds are paid for. No. All right. Oh, so, all right. You know what? I don't know if I'm still in my live stream, but hold on. Oh, geez, oh, Pete, because I can't hear it, so it's pretty messed up. I can't hear myself talk, but so I'm not sure if it's still running, but here we go. Hold on. Uno momento. Hmm. It shows that the official violated clearly established statutory or constitutional rights. Right. Violated. No, I did not say that. All right, I'm gonna go up here. I'm gonna see. Hold on. Plaintiff shows that the offense violated is gonna clearly stand. Oh, you know what? I'm very sorry, Rachel. Let me apologize to you because I did not see that above your other comment. Like I said, sometimes my chat is not always like as fast as you guys. So you did say violated. My apologies to you. Right. Okay. So do you agree then that the fact of the matter is, I don't know, the bonded part, yeah. Yeah, you did say that. I did not see your above paragraph where you must have ran out of space and continued on. I didn't see that. My apologies. Uh so that's why I needed to scroll up. But yes, okay. So I don't know if you're agreeing with me or not, but you didn't like. Right, yeah, um like go to the video that I posted in the description because it's more to it than what you're saying. Like, I mean, I by what you're saying and because you're not quoting the complete, what it completely says. I don't know that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're agreeing with me that it actually gives, like, it's the precedent of it. It has nothing to do with what you're talking about. It has to do with setting the precedent of it. And that's where we're all at a. Tracy, I brought that up to you before. If you can hear yourself talking, then you know you're still active in what you told me. Rachel. Hi, Ace. How are you? And the reason why I couldn't tell is because I went to, I'm not even gonna, like, it does give me too much of an echo. My bad. Anyway, Rachel, what I'd like to know is, so do you agree with the qualified immunity doctrine, or do you not agree with it? I guess that's what I'm trying to tell you, because I I think it needs to be looked at and revised. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be any kind of, I don't know what a drop bear is. There's so many things that I'm thinking like are disturbing to me. If you look at the thumbnail that I used of Derek Chauvin, he's got his hand in his pocket, right? He's got his hand in his pocket. Now, there's my concern. If this was a regular trial and was based on actual actions and not about worrying about what riots the verdict might bring about, and things like that. Say this was just looking at the body language of this person who is kneeling on this guy's neck with his hand in his pocket. That displays a relaxed feeling. Like what I can't even imagine that somebody who is in a position where he needs to use excessive force is putting his hand in his pocket. What's he doing? Is he diddling? I mean, no offense, but I can't think what is he doing? Why is he putting his hand in his pocket? Mm. We are talking about George Floyd right now, yeah. And in the thumbnail with Derek Chauvin Lulu, that I used for this particular live stream, he's got his hand in his pocket. Now, to me, that's pretty disturbing. And I know at some point the whole knee to the neck thing was based on the fact that, you know, was that he was being aggressive, George Floyd, his stature compared to the officer that was trying to, that was arresting him. And I absolutely understand what you're talking about, and those procedures in place by, our government officials for the police department and for what reasons they were established. In place by, our government officials and for what reasons they were established. Well, that procedure, knee to the neck, that's not really, that's what I mean. If you read the qualified immunity doctrine in full, it will go into telling you. Now, see, from what I thought was that he was already cuffed. That's what I thought was the case. That he was handcuffed and, he did that. And as for what, Rachel was saying, what is that, um, that knee to the neck move, the qualified immunity doctrine goes into the fact that saying that their lack of training for those particular, cases and scenarios is their defense. Yeah, exactly, Lulu. A deliberate abuse of force there. The body language says that, he was not feeling anything but relaxed enough to put his hand in his pocket. And what I felt was kind of ironic is that, first of all, I feel that the ability to feel that relaxed in that situation, that you're gonna sit there with your neck on somebody's, with your knee. I'm sorry, with your knee on somebody's neck like that, and then start digging through your pockets. I mean, I don't even know what was he digging for. in his pocket. Thank you. I appreciate that, Rachel. Um, I'm just so curious. I really would like somebody, if they would just look at that picture that I used for my thumbnail and just tell me their thought on why was he looking in his pocket? Yeah. So, in comparison to Rodney King, right, right. Okay, Lulu, and I'm not even going to go switch to Rodney King because I didn't want to say ironic. Because of the qualified immunity doctrine, sometimes I wonder if things like that are not personal. You know, it just so happened that this club that they both worked at, now the officer there, he worked there for 17 years as a off-duty police officer. Now that right there, that leads me to think, uh, right, exactly, Clemson. That's the only reason I would think he have his hand in his pocket. Because what else could he possibly be looking for in his pocket? And I'm not trying to sound funny, but if I was somebody, who had that, was, involved in that, I'd look at that and that would, disturb me. Right. But Lulu, even and regardless of anything they're saying, I would continue to say, why is your hand in your pocket? Yeah. But that hand in the pocket, that body language says everything about how he was feeling right then and there. Whether it was a sexual arousal thing or whether he just felt relaxed enough that he was just putting his hand in his pocket till that guy was dead or almost, right? Now, no, I don't know if I have I don't know what you mean by that, Barium, but if like anybody can just remove that eye for an eye, please, because I don't like that. He pulled it out at one point when one of the bystanders was coming close. His mace was in his pocket. He pulled it out at one point. No, their mace isn't in their pocket. Come on, no, not their front pocket. I mean, that wouldn't even. I don't believe that. I think everything they have is on their like utility belt almost, right? I mean, Lily, that poor guy probably didn't even know he had fake money. Tracy talked to tell her I love her. Poor guy. No, I don't know if I'd say that. That poor guy. I mean, yeah. Um, I saw this whole thing of, this guy, that officer driving, and he, what, with the George Floyd ace? Do you mean? Okay, so I watched this whole body cam footage of this Derek Swan, and he's driving to the call. Then he's in there talking to the store owner, and the guy behind him is, the security guy. Now, the whole time, though, it doesn't even make sense. I mean, why would even George Floyd just be sitting out there in his SUV, waiting? Doesn't make sense. Now, here's, uh, you know, I don't know. Um, Ironically, like I was saying, they both worked at this nightclub. Now, first of all, I feel like this off-duty police officer. How do you work as an off-duty police officer? Isn't that security just like anybody else that's working? Um, so how do we not know that there wasn't some kind of a personal thing going on in the, you know, in the whole relationship, whole dynamics of this person? Now, ironically, the woman who owned the, yeah, and I delved into a lot. I really did. Um, Probably more than I should. Yeah, it was a bounce club. Yep, bounce club, bouncer, and nightclub. Um, yeah, and they were both bouncers, right? So the woman who was named Maya Santa Maria, okay, she is the woman who owned that particular business. She's considered, like, if you type her in Google and you're looking for, yeah, they knew each other. They did know each other. Now, see, so the display, that body language display, and the other cops holding back, hey, in my opinion, he was a known criminal, so I'm sure he knew it was bullshit bullets, but that guy had personal attack. He went overboard and needs to be charged. Yeah, absolutely needs to be. Yeah, but no, he does absolutely need to be charged because absolutely, no doubt, that body language that he is displaying and the other officers holding back shows, regardless of the officer and the criminal whole take on it, that picture of him having his knee on that neck and his hand in his pocket shows somebody who is very relaxed and pissed off. You can see in his face, but that he is also quite aware that he's protected by qualified immunity. So he knows that for whatever reason, he was leisurely letting this person die underneath a maneuver that, I don't care if it's trained or not or whatever, everyone pretty much knows that, if you're going to do that to somebody, chances are, for 8 minutes, 14 minutes, as in Tony Timpa's case, uh, you pretty much are, you know, putting their life in grave danger. So, when you can just kind of sit, he could have like been reaching for his lighter to smoke a cigarette for all that looked. Okay? Because if he was reaching for his mace, as somebody suggested, then where was it? I don't know what Tiber Mania is. What is that? I don't know what that means. Yes, yes, they absolutely XX. I absolutely agree. Yep, kneeling on the neck is not in the police training. And that is what some people who are for, not for, but this is what I'll notice. Some people who will say things like, well, you can't blame it's not a huge liability. The only way it's a liability, Lulu, is because what's going to happen is the city and the state will be held liable because of the qualified immunity doctrine. They will say, Well, that's not trained, but they're not trained. If you read that qualified immunity or watch the video I put in the description, sorry, I think that there's also that's where it is. Falls and Bali. I don't want to go to Bali. I don't want to go there. I want to make a difference. Yeah, and that is what. Yeah, it's not even the link in my description is probably a mixture of both. But read it. It's quick read. That's the qualified immunity doctrine covers their liability as in they have none. They have no liability. That's why he could put his hand in his pocket. Yes, absolutely. They are absolutely different. Yep. And that's like here. I mean, here's the thing that bothers me and worries me is that people will say, "Oh, look at what happened, with the 92. Tracy, I want to take you for a ride in the Daytona Speedway. We can do 200." Uh, right, okay, but that's not what therein lies a lot of my problem. It's like, see, we got Lulu here. Laws are different up here, engaging in the conversation. She's, and then we got A, same. I'll have to look up too, right? And then we got you, Clemson. See that? It's so important. And if you're a voter, and if people vote, and I know that Lulu and Ace both live in other countries, but here, Clemson, you live here, and it affects you. So you've got two people who live in other countries with more of a concern about a law that doesn't affect them, but I know he's tipsy. I get it. I do, Lulu. I get it. And you're such a sweet person. You really are. Because I'm such a. You know what it is when you have a passion, and I have a passion about the fact that, and I do believe one person can make a difference, and I always just, I'm sorry, I refer back to this because it's something that it's like a little is it a proverb or a story or something like that, I know Clemson, I do. Um, like about the starfish. It's low tide and all those starfish got, she's beached on low tide and she was just running along. There's like hundreds, thousands of them. She's running along and throwing the starfish into the ocean. And this person said, why bother doing that? They're not gonna they're not gonna live for more than a few seconds. You're gonna be lucky if you can save just one. And she said, yeah, but if I can save just one. And I'm not looking to save people or anything, but maybe I'm just looking to save us from ourselves. And I think that's probably why, like, some people will take a break from YouTube and stuff because they feel, I don't know, some type of a despair about it, like, yeah, even the beach whales I had written down, like, there's only this one group that actually does, they're nonprofit and they help, like, the beach animals, and there's only, you know, and they are, like, struggling, just like the Orphan Wildlife Center. They're struggling, and here everybody's, in this uproar of donating to people who, and I'm not undermining what they're saying, or what their plight is. I'm not undermining it. I'm just saying there is organizations out there with these missions, that are so They would like change the world. Like that orphan wildlife center, there's just three people. It's just three people. And it doesn't entail any drug dealers making money or any, you know, prostitutes maybe ending up killed or hurt or dying from an overdose or a man going home to his wife and spreading an STD. None of those factors come into play in what those organizations have set out to try to do. And the whole, I, I don't know. Um, if nobody remembers the 92 riot in LA, where in 64, I'm sorry, 6 days, 64 people were killed, none of them being police officers, okay? None of them. If you live in the US, I will tell you that by wanting that officer and the others that were with him to be, yes, Rodney King, yeah, but by wanting the officers in that incident of George Floyd, regardless of the, the whole background or criminal record, um, well, it was not created for that. It was created because of the the civil rights unrest, and there was a lot of rioting then, and because like the police were undergoing a lot of violence trying to get these riots under control, but they were also, when they put that into effect, it was actually looked at way back, as far back as 1871, the qualified immunity doctrine, but it really wasn't like made it wasn't recognized, I guess, and put into use until the civil rights unrest, and it kind of allowed officers to go in and beat protesters in in cases where they probably were in fear for their lives, but then some took it too far. It's for deadly force and protects them from being sued. Right. That's, a man was shot. Right. So, I mean, the thing is deadly force can be used by them regardless whether they feel in immediate danger. And if you go back and you look at the things that during this Derek Chauvin trial is going on. Thank you. I appreciate that, Lula. Yes, it has been swept under the carpet under the rug for so long. And it's, caused an abuse of power, and not just in the police. I mean, it covers in juvenile detention centers, okay, where maybe like an 8-year-old kid has been put, an 8 or 9-year-old kid has been put. It and there and it's a government detention center. So you've got a juvenile detention center guard who likes to molest those young boys. Okay? He's covered by that. Now, the laws of that are so disgraceful. If in 2 years there has been no like no report made, no then that's their statute of limitations. if you're 9 years old and a, say, 6'4", 6'3" man is molesting you and telling you that if you tell your family, they're going to kill them or kill you or end your visits completely, maybe not even kill them, just end your visits, anything at all, then what 8 or 9 year old or 10-year-old or little kid in a juvenile detention center is going to risk it? Maybe they're going to think in their head, when I'm out of here and I'm an adult, I'll get my justice then. And unbeknownst to them, they only had a 2-year filing deadline for that. Sorry. Oh, you didn't tell anybody when you were 9 and afraid. Too bad. And that is a fact. It's a fact. Very disgraceful. I mean, I'm just saying the qualified immunity doctrine affects so much and so many people. See, I really hope that, what doesn't have, yeah, it's a fact. You can look it up. I did a case on, in Oregon when, now here's another thing. The whole thing was that the case in the Oregon that I was, you know, looking into, uh, was the first one was like about, the Brian Back case. When you're really, really, really researching something, and I notice like the viewers dropping, and that's the shame of that, is that there'll be like hundreds of people, and I appreciate the ones that are still sticking. I don't even think OJ did that. I think it was a serial killer. His first name, I believe, was Glenn. He went across the United States. Yeah, I really don't think that OJ did that. But this, well, that's a different story, Lulu. I'll have to get into that another time. Because there's so much. Yeah, I don't think it was him. I will show you the same documentary I watched where it wasn't about the OJ case at all. It was about this particular serial killer that went across the country. And he said he had met her and was doing work for her around the house and that he planned on getting her. And he told his brother that. And his brother said it. But, nobody it's just like the same thing. Yeah. And the Rodney King event happened in '92. And oh God, oh gosh, he's such a brat. What I was trying, the point. I stop. If anybody wants to come up here, you can. I'm gonna, but I just the point like that I wanted to say is that their boss, that Maya Santa Maria, and I'm back to George Floyd and their Chauvin, because that's where we're at. She's a media mogul. Yeah, okay? She's a media mogul. So she says she didn't recognize either one of them as her former employee when she saw the video. She never ended up saying she recognized George Floyd at all, but people said it was him. And she said, it took a little more looking to recognize the off-duty police officer that worked for her as an off-duty police officer. You know what that means? That means he's qualified under he's covered under the qualified immunity doctrine, even when he's off duty. And that is a fact. Because it is a fact. It's a fact. It falls under the defense of, if we expect them to have the same standards that they have off duty as they do. Hi, secular. Um, if they have the same standards, here, I'm gonna put it. I'll just post so somebody can come in. I know it's not gonna go because I face it a lot anyway. With all the you do so much researching on something that matters so much because it matters so much and it affects so many people across the board. It affects the social programs. Believe it or not, the qualified immunity doctrine, it affects the mental health programs. It affects the schools. It affects the elderly services. It affects so much across the board that unless more people actually really, you know, start yelling, repeal the qualified immunity doctrine, then when people say, oh, look at the Rodney King riots, nothing changed, nothing changed. Yeah. Do you know why? Because the qualified immunity doctrine didn't get repealed. And that's why nothing changed. So people can come on and they can yell and they can scream on other channels and they can say nothing changed, nothing changed. And that's why. Repeal the qualified immunity doctrine. So who's going over to Bibles tonight? Anybody? Secular? Any, any stories or examples I've told you that you'd like to relay incorrectly to people? And never correct. And they can go on thinking Tony Timpa is killed by a black officer, shot, mind you, not even knee to the neck. And then you can confuse it with Justine Diamond, who was a pivotal case in Minneapolis. And she actually set the precedent for why George Floyd is getting justice right now. Because he will get it. But you know what? He'd still be alive if during Tony Timpa's case, which there really wasn't much of one, or, during the time that Justine Diamond's trial was going on, people were screaming, repeal the qualified immunity doctrine. See, it would have been repealed. But what they did notice was that, somebody noticed, some attorney noticed that thanks to Justine Diamond, nope, Tony Timpa was in Texas. And the officer that did it was called Dustin Dillard. Her mom wants her to call. Best time to catch her on the. All right, don't put the. I don't even know if that's correct, but here you are, secular. And what I'm saying is this. Annie Seals will be looking for your own boss. She is in, wants a date. Her mom wants her to best time to catch her on the Ave is early in the day. I'm not the Ave channel. You get it? I know you were asked a question, but you were asked a question the other night on Bob's channel, and you totally gave an incorrect, answer, and probably because maybe you were answering questions about the avenue instead. So you half-heartedly heard the story about Justine Diamond, half-heartedly heard the story of Tony Timpa, and then started chanting, Tony Timpa, say his name or get no pizza. And then flip the script. You're talking about the Ave because your concern lies with the Ave. I get it. You can have that concern. You absolutely have that concern. But I need you to recognize the fact that here I am doing a live stream about something that kind of was about what we were what happened the other night and what occurred the other night in a room where everybody was screaming about, and nothing's changed, George Floyd, and you relayed their wrong and correct story, and you think, no, secular, it's absolutely not Lulu's fault, it's yours, because it's nobody's fault. I'm saying that you need to like, bye, Tracy and Terry and chat. Have a great night. Bye, Rachel. The fact that, sometimes some things mean, you know, you saying that Tony Timpo was shot by a black cop and everybody just accepting that answer was so disheartening for me. Because it's not about Tony Timpa. It's not about Tony Timpa. It's about something that's for the better of so many social programs, elderly, mental health, education, all that stuff. Anyway, I guess, I guess I'm going to go over to Bobbles too. So I think everybody kind of wants to check out Bobbles, and I do too. So I guess, if anybody wants to drop the link for Bobbles, please do before. Yeah, but secular, there's different circumstances for different things. And if you'd have tuned in, or like that, you would know that everyone is not covered under the same blanket. At the end of the day, everyone wants to. No, I don't want to yell at you at all, secular. I don't want to. I don't. But yeah, if somebody wants to drop Bob's link, they can, and we can all check it out, and yeah, it's fine. Yes, Lulu, absolutely. In fact, JC is from where you're from, so maybe you guys will have some commonality there. Common thing. But anyway, uh, so if any of my mods want to drop the link for there, go ahead. And then in the meantime, they can just No, nobody wants to drop her link. Would you rather stay? I just, I don't know that I've ever. It's disheartening to me because in the meantime, they're setting the precedent of turning over, like setting the precedent to say that it's okay to rape somebody who's been drinking in the same state. Okay? It's the same, like that was last week. So when they distract people from others, from what's going, or people just focus on one thing that's going on, it affects. Think about it, and if you put yourselves in the shoes of anybody at all, like if your daughter, say, is at a party, okay, and you guys happen to live in Minnesota, because it's Minnesota, that's what, because it was a federal judge that overturned, okay, and so your daughter goes to school in Minnesota, and she's at a party, and she has a few beers, okay, she gets raped, but it's not a felony anymore. See? So that's where, the protest should lie. That your children or yourself or anybody is not is not like a woman's rights. They're being taken away. Yeah, she drank and she, you know, um, you never know the circumstances, the entirety of the circumstances, because of course they don't, say he could have even known her. Like for some reason she went back to his. Now here's the kicker. Like I know that a lot of bars and bartenders can be held responsible for serving somebody. So it's a bartender's, like crime if they serve somebody and they get drunk and then yeah, victim blaming. Absolutely, Lulu. Absolutely. But let's just I'll come back later because I got so much to say, but uh hookers take precedence. So I'm just gonna say that camel toes and spandex and that kind of shit takes precedence. And I do want to see what it's all about myself, but no, I please the people. I don't want to be misinterpreted. So I'm just gonna end this because it's so important that I don't want anything distracting from what I have to say. Peace, love, and tacos.